Ultimate Rare Brilliant Fusion. Oh! Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. Now, yesterday we just had some news that OTS Pack 6 is on its way and it's going to be released sometime in December. Now, this is really huge because not only did they announce this news, and it seems like we just got OTS Pack 5 yesterday, but we also had some cards that are going to be contained in the set announced to us as well. So I wanted to go over that and also kind of speculate and also, I guess, put my wish list out there to Konami if they end up watching this video, which they probably won't, so that way I can discuss what cards I personally want to see out of OTS Pack 6 getting the rarity bump treatment. If you guys are familiar with my channel, you guys know that I love rarity bumps and really any opportunity for players to get their hands on shinier versions of their favorite cards, so I'm also curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. But getting right into it, so starting off with the ultimate rares. In every OTS pack we get 3 ultimate rares, and we already got the first one announced to us, and that is Brilliant Fusion. And I can hear Doug Z from the background just screaming with joy the second I hear anytime I think about that. But the thing is with Brilliant Fusion, I think it's a very excellent pick. It's not completely generic, but it's generic enough that it deserves an ultimate rare printing. There's so many decks that can take advantage of the Brilliant Fusion engine, like Lightsworn, Blue Eyes, I guess, can use Brilliant Fusion, ABC can use Brilliant Fusion, World Chalice uses Brilliant Fusion. Seraphonite's just one of those cards that by enabling an extra normal summon for a deck, the deck is capable of doing so much more. Not to mention you get to send cards to grave, which also triggers stuff like Trick Clown and things like that. So personally, I think Brilliant Fusion is an excellent pick. And not to mention that it's gonna look absolutely fucking gorgeous because just look at that artwork already and just imagine that in an ultimate rare printing. So what are the other 2 ultimate rare cards going to be? Well, in all honesty, what ends up happening is most of the time, and I say most of the time, the cards in the ultimate rare slot are pretty much some of the most generic cards you can possibly come up with. I mean, look at some of the last sets. We've had Terraforming, we've had Ghost Ogre, we've had, you know, things like Terror Top. I mean, these are cards that are extremely generic, and a lot of different decks can utilize them, whether it's because they're staples or because they're engine pieces that are in a very flexible engine that can be used in a lot of different decks. So sometimes though we do get more archetype specific cards like Swap Frog and things like that, but Swap Frog, to be fair, didn't have any other printing outside of a common, so that might be, you know, part of the reason why they decided to give it that treatment, especially with Paleozoic becoming much more relevant in the meta. But I'm gonna fall on the side of much more generic because I feel that's the route that they're probably going to go most likely. And to start off, let's talk about extra deck monsters, because there's a couple extra deck monsters that they could make ultimate rare, and it would be well deserved in that slot. The first couple that come to mind are Psyframe Lord Omega, probably one of the most notorious synchro monsters of all time. A lot of people's favorite. It just does a lot. It's actually very competitively relevant right now, and I think it would look really cool as an ultimate rare. Then you also have a card like Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing is also very meta relevant as well, thanks to the Wind Witches. And again, I think that card would be absolutely beautiful as an ultimate rare and would be well deserved because Crystal Wing, I mean, other than Wind Witches, you can use it in Blue Eyes. There's just a ton of different decks where it's viable, and it's an extremely powerful card if it manages to touch down on the board. But the one extra deck monster that myself and a myriad of other people are just praying becomes an ultimate rare in any OTS set, but this could be the one, is Abyss Dweller. Please, Konami, I am begging you. Abyss Dweller probably deserves to be an ultimate rare more so than any other card I could possibly think of. The reason for that is Abyss Dweller not only being one of the most generic rank 4s in the game, but has done so much to terrorize so many different formats, to shut down so many different strategies when it hits the board. It's only a super rare and a gold. Like, this card deserves to be an ultimate rare, and I would think that there's no better card that deserves it than Abyss Dweller. Now, moving on from there are a couple other cards that I think could possibly make the list as well. BLS just recently came off the ban list to 2, and while it might not be the most relevant card at the moment, just imagine what an ultimate rare BLS would look like, and just for, you know, food for thought, Japan already has it, so that pretty much takes away that any sort of imagination there. But I think BLS is really well deserving of it, even though it's not the most relevant. I just think because of pretty much the status that the card has in our community, it'd be very well deserved. Rescue Rabbit would also be interesting as well, because, I mean, again, it just came off the list to 3. It's very generic. A lot of different decks can play Rescue Rabbit, and I think it would be really cool if that card, it kind of checks all the boxes and kind of makes sense that it might get an ultimate rare printing. Another card I was thinking about is Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, and the reason for that is because they already printed Ghost Ogre in the last one, which means they might want to print all of the cards in that series in an ultimate rare foiling at some point. And next in line would be Ghost Reaper, because Ghost Reaper was the second one to be released, and it would make the most sense that since they already did Ogre, Reaper would follow next in line. Reaper is also very competitively relevant with a bunch of different decks like ABC, soon to be Spiral, so I think that would be pretty cool, and it would be amazing looking in terms of its artwork. Now, if we're getting very specific, Konami also did mention that they are going to have cards for Wind Witches, Paleozoic, as well as Trick Stars. Now, a lot of people are speculating that Wind Witch Ice Bell might get the ultimate rare treatment, kind of falling in line with Terror Top. That could be a really cool looking ultimate rare as well. I'm not sure if it'll be the case though, because comparing it to Terror Top isn't exactly, I'd say, a fair argument. I mean, a free rank 3 compared to a Crystal Wing that only certain decks can utilize, I don't exactly think is exactly the most fair comparison, but it is possible, especially since they mentioned that Wind Witches are going to be in here. But there's another card that Wind Witches are probably going to get foiled out one way or another. Spiral Super Agent would be an interesting pick, especially because of the fact that Spirals are going to be dominant. Spirals are going to be pretty much at their prime around this time, so printing an ultimate rare Super Agent would be really interesting, especially considering it doesn't have another printing yet. I don't think it'll happen, but there's a likelihood that it could, because they have printed archetype specific cards in the past, so there is that possibility. Now, last but not least on the ultimate rares, I do want to discuss just very generic staples. Twin Twister would definitely deserve a spot more than anything. Some of the best spell and trap removal in the game. I think it would be absolutely glorious as an ultimate rare, and people would just be clamoring after it. Then you got stuff like Dark Hole, Soul Charge, Foolish Burial, you know, Card of Demise, maybe Book of Moon. Those are some other ones as well. But if I had to pick my 3, Brilliant Fusion's already one of them because we know it, but I would also go ahead and say Abyss Dweller and Twin Twisters would be my 3 ultimate rares of choice. I think those are the most deserving and would make for a really good OTS pack set of ultimate rares. Now, moving on to the super rares, we don't want to forget those because those are very important as well. An OTS pack contains 10 super rares, and most of these super rares are bumped from other rarities. Sometimes cards go down and they get from an ultra rare printing to a super, but that's very uncommon. Most of the time, these cards are getting rarity bumped up. Now, like I said, we did mention that Trick Stars, Paleozoic, and Wind Witches are getting prints in this set. Now, it makes sense that Wind Witch Winterbell, which is the only non-foil Wind Witch card, would become a super rare in this set. Makes perfect sense, and I think that's a lot more likely than something, say, Wind Witch Icebell becoming an ultimate rare. Paleozoic, that's just awesome because these cards are all commons, and I know some people like it that way, but there's so many cards in there that you could make super rare. They might even do multiples. They could do something like Oonoides or Dinomisius or Canadia. There's so many good Paleozoic monsters that there's a lot of options for them to choose from, and I hope they don't just do one. I hope they do 2 or 3, at least the 2 or 3 best Paleozoics, just to give the deck the nice hollow treatment. And then last but not least, Trick Stars. The only Trick Star that's a non-hollow Trick Star monster is Lilybell. Lilybell currently comes as a rare, so I think it'd be fitting that that's going to be the card that's going to be a super rare, just so Trick Star players are happy with everything being hollowed out in the rest of their deck. But really, what else is going to fill these slots? Well, a lot of people have been just begging and demanding for Unizombie. Unizombie was printed as a common in one of the recent OTS sets, and that was almost just like a slap in the face because it's already been common before, but Unizombie, especially because of its integration with the Shiranui strategies, being able to be abused with Mizuki, this card deserves to be a super rare, and it's kind of just so unfortunate that it hasn't already been printed that way, but I think it would make a lot of zombie players as well as Lightsworn zombie players or Vendread players or anything like like that extremely happy. Then there's also set rotation. I think set rotation has a good, very high likelihood of becoming a super rare as well, because soon it's going to be a very popular card in the meta, because a lot of players are going to be wanting to get to their field spells as quickly as possible. It only currently comes as a common, but making this card a super rare, especially because of how generic it is and how applicable it is to so many different strategies, I definitely think set rotation would be a very solid pick. Then, really, I think what else they might do is Spiral Drone might get a super rare printing, because that's the only Spiral card remaining that is still a rare. I guess there's the spells and traps as well, but Spiral Drone is so integral to the Spiral strategy once the deck becomes full power in October, or maybe November-ish as well. But I definitely think Spiral Drone is going to be the next one to get a holo treatment out of the Spiral archetype. Then we've got stuff like Kaijus. You know, we've had multiple hollowed out Kaijus in the past. Maybe Jizukiru will get the treatment this time, or maybe it'll be Radiant, or just another Kaiju in general. I think it's cool that because Kaijus are so generic, that those are going to get the rarity bump treatment as well. But guys, those are just my thoughts for what I personally feel I want to see come out of OTS Pack 6. Let me know down in the comments your guys' thoughts for what cards you want to see hollowed out from your favorite archetypes. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, and who knows, maybe if Konami does watch this video, they might take some of these cards and actually integrate them into the set. If they haven't already printed it, who the hell knows? I just want to put it out there and hope for the best. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you really like this video, consider backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging only $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.